In today's video, I thought it was finally time to dig a little deeper into the gameplay reveal footage of the latest Battlefield. And while many excellent analysis videos have been made on this short preview of gameplay already, I wanted to hone our focus here a little bit and look specifically at the user interface we've seen so far in Battlefield 2042. Now, of course, this is pre-alpha gameplay, and I imagine some UI elements have been tweaked or will change prior to release, but let's take a look at it anyways because, well, why not? I will be using the term UI or user interface here, but just know that I'm basically referring to the HUD as well, and I'm kind of using the terms interchangeably. However, before we jump in, I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone that has supported the channel by liking videos, leaving comments, and subscribing. We recently hit another milestone with the channel and passing 700 subscribers, and it's blowing my mind. I'm gonna be honest, my goal for this year was like 100 subscribers, and we absolutely crushed that. So thank you again to everyone that is enjoying the content. Anyways, I hope you continue to enjoy, and with that out of the way, let's get started. Generally speaking, my initial impression of this interface is positive. It looks clean and minimalist and has a design that is both reminiscent of Battlefield 3 and 4's UIs, but with a futuristic sleekness that fits the 2042 setting. Here we instantly see a uniqueness with the color scheme and this saturated teal, red, and green that makes up the primary elements here. Futuristic and interesting looking for sure, but already I'm kind of seeing issues. I'm not sure if it's due to YouTube compression or this being capture footage, but I'm having a really hard time reading these numbers against certain backdrops. The most important element to any user interface is usability, or in this case, readability. So hopefully it's not quite this hard to read when playing. The UI features almost all of the primary elements of a Battlefield UI. We have the score, minimap, objectives, squad mates, equipment, ammunition, and vehicle seating. Although we're missing several things like the kill feed and chat log in this footage. However, a few new elements appear as well that I will touch on in the different sections. Overall, aesthetically, this is an eye-pleasing UI that stays relatively minimal and unobtrusive, which is a critical component to me. Similar to Battlefield 3 and 4, once again we see the score and objectives return to the bottom left-hand corner near the minimap. Battlefield 1 and 5 moved these elements to the top of the screen, and after returning to 4 multiple times, I think I prefer it this way. I like having the entire rest of the screen clear for either on-screen or in-game elements, and it helps a bit with immersion. More screen real estate is almost always better in my opinion. In this minimap shot, we get a good look at the new sectors within the Conquest game mode. For those unfamiliar, the capture objectives within Conquest are now split into various groupings called sectors. Controlling all of the points in a sector controls that sector for your team. Who'd have thought? The overlaid color indicates the current control for that sector. However, again, I have a saturation concern as minimap details can be hard to make out in some of these shots. The scoring looks fairly straightforward with the team's tickets shown. However, a new addition is a small arrow that seems to indicate which team is bleeding tickets due to the other team controlling the majority of points. For objectives, we no longer see individual capture points, but we instead see sectors. Capture points are now displayed dynamically as floating HUD items when you're within that sector. You'll also notice in some shots an arrow highlighting the sector. This seems to indicate the current sector the player is in. However, some shots show a player within a sector and none of them are highlighted, so I might be missing something here. One last thing for objectives is when on a contested point, it now shows the exact number of allies and enemies present on the point. A significant change to gameplay that I'm not entirely sold on yet. Next, let's take a look at the squad features seen in this reveal. Similar to other Battlefield UIs, your squad mates are shown here in the bottom left, and this unfortunately confirms 4-man squads, which to be honest is a bit disappointing as I wanted to see larger squads with a selection of more varied and specialized classes. When I initially saw this, I assumed those were either your emblem or profile picture. However, it appears that this is your chosen specialist, so essentially your class. And while I'm sure it won't take long to recognize each specialist at a glance, it's still less readable to me than the simple class icons of past games. Before, at a glance, I could recognize if my squad could use a medic or support. However, now with the changes in specialists and how equipment is handled, I'm not so sure how intuitive it'll be to pick a specialist and equipment that complements my squad. As more specialists are added to the game, this problem may only get worse. Squad mates are still in green to differentiate them from other allies, and their health and status is shown here as well, very useful tidbits of course. I notice these two green icons here, which leads me to believe they are squad related. However, I haven't seen or found any information on what these might be. The radio icon may be similar to squad reinforcements like in Battlefield 5, such as a vehicle drop, which is a confirmed feature. Although this other box icon is a complete mystery to me, so put your theories in the comments below. It may be performance or connection related, however that seems like a strange thing to put in a gameplay reveal trailer. Let's jump over to weapons, equipment, and player health shown here. We see a primary, secondary grenade, and 2 gadget or equipment slots. Fairly straightforward, but a return to a more Battlefield 5 style of UI that shows the list of current weapons and equipment as opposed to just your ammo count. I personally like this change as I have a goldfish brain and forget what weapons and equipment I have equipped unless I can see it. I also appreciate the weapon icons being dynamic enough to show current attachments, which is a cool touch. The player health bar is shown here, and you'll notice that when in a vehicle, that bar is now replaced with the vehicle's health bar. My only question here is how you differentiate between your own health and the vehicle's if this takes that spot. For a tank that won't matter, but an open transport where the player can be injured put inside of it, will be interesting to see how that is being handled here. I did notice that the health bar changes color depending on status, which can help a lot with quick readability. The large plus sign, which I initially assumed to be kind of a health icon, is instead the aptly named plus system or on-the-fly weapon modding. The symbol only seems to indicate when the plus system is available for what you have equipped. As we see here, when the player has the grappling hook, the plus is gone. That's kind of a strange element to include in my opinion, as it's safe to assume weapons can be modded but equipment cannot, so I'm not entirely sure what the point is here. I'm really digging the look of the ammo count, just very sleek design. Vehicle weapons or equipment replace your own when entered, as seen here, and the seating is shown as well. This is pretty standard, but I did want to point out that of the vehicles shown, it looks like there are more available seats per vehicle, including spotters for tanks. This is just an awesome change and well needed with the increased player count. This also confirms the removal of ammo counts for vehicles, as unlimited ammo is shown here. I actually really liked the resupplying system of Battlefield 5 for vehicles, so I'm a bit sad to see it dropped already. As expected, vehicles look to have their own equipment, which I assume can be customized as well. Lastly, I wanted to talk about a unique effect that, as far as I'm aware, we have never seen in a Battlefield game. That is the HUD itself being distorted and glitchy as the player approaches the storm. This is a really interesting effect that I imagine happens with other weather effects in the game as well, and possibly even with equipment. This opens the door for things like EMP grenades or flashbangs to cause similar effects on the enemy UI, as if being blinded wasn't bad enough. A very interesting UI element that I'm curious to see how it plays out in game. Overall, I again really like the sleek and futuristic design of Battlefield 2042's UI, and I appreciate it being more in line with the setting and aesthetic of the game itself. I'm very interested to see what other elements will be revealed as we approach release. That's it for me today, and I hope you enjoyed the analysis. Until next time.